Right. So you want to talk about power, huh? Like real global power.
That's what we're here for.
Well, you came to the right place because you sent over these lists and rankings of the most powerful people in the world. And
fascinating stuff, right?
It's pretty mind-blowing when you really start digging into it, you know? Like, who are these people? What makes them so powerful?
Yeah. You know, it really makes you question what power even is.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, is it just about wealth, or is it more about, you know, influence, control, the ability to actually make change happen on a global scale?
And all the sources you sent seem to have like a slightly different take on that.
Mm-hmm.
Some really emphasize the economic side, you know, like net worth and all that.
Yeah.
Others are looking more at political clout or even cultural impact, which gets really interesting, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where you see some pretty surprising variations in who ends up at the top of these lists, you know? Depending on how you define power, you get a totally different picture.
Yeah, I definitely raised an eyebrow at a few of the names.
Yeah.
But there are some constants too,
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Like certain figures just keep popping up no matter how you slice it.
I mean, these are the individuals who've really managed to amass influence across multiple different spheres of, you know, global activity.
So give me an example then, like who are we talking about here?
Okay, well, one name that consistently ranked high on every single list was this tech CEO.
Okay, a tech CEO. So we're thinking lots of money, lots of influence.
Right, you might think that's kind of a given.
Yeah.
But what's really fascinating about this particular person is the fact that their company, you know, they effectively control the algorithms that determine what millions of people see online every single day.
Okay, so we're talking about like shaping public discourse here.
Oh, absolutely. Influencing elections, even dictating what becomes a cultural trend.
Now that's a different kind of power.
That's the kind of power we're talking about when we talk about global influence. It's not just about money or fame. It's about, you know, subtly shaping the world around you. And that's what I found so interesting going through all these sources you sent.
Yeah.
There are tons of examples of this kind of subtle influence.
Well, I bet.
Take this philanthropist, for instance. You know, someone who consistently ranks high on these most powerful lists.
Okay.
And again, it's not just about the billions of dollars that they're donating to various causes.
Right.
It's about their ability to kind of leverage that money to drive specific agendas, you know, influence policy decisions, really steer the conversation on these major global issues.
So it's almost like a new breed of power player, right?
Yeah.
It's less about holding like official positions and more about wielding influence sort of behind the scenes.
Absolutely. It's a very different kind of power than we've maybe seen in the past.
And it's not always like benevolent, right?
No, not necessarily. I mean, think about this media mogul who owns this vast network of news outlets.
Okay.
They may not hold elected office,
Right.
but their ability to shape narratives, you know, control what information reaches the public, that is a tremendously powerful position to be in.
I mean, it really makes you question these rankings, doesn't it? Like, how could you actually measure something as fluid and kind of multifaceted as power?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, these lists, they give us a starting point, you know, kind of a snapshot of, you know, who's considered influential at a given moment in time.
Right.
But the reality is so much more complex than that. I mean, you have hidden power structures, backroom deals, this constant, you know, ebb and flow of public opinion, all these things that are incredibly difficult to quantify.
Yeah, and then you have these massive movements and ideologies that wield a kind of collective power that goes way beyond any individual, you know.
Right.
Like, think about the impact of environmental activism in recent years.
Absolutely.
Or the rise of like social justice movements online. These are forces to be reckoned with.
Those are prime examples of how power can reside in collective action and shared belief systems. You know?
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that individuals, however influential they may be, they're always operating within this larger ecosystem of power dynamics.
Totally. So what did we learn today? Well, first off, power is a way more complicated thing than we might initially think. And the individuals who make it to the top of these most powerful lists, they're not always the ones pulling the most obvious levers, right?
Yeah, and they might not be the ones with the most power at the end of the day.
So to wrap things up for us, what's the big takeaway here? What do we want our listeners to walk away thinking about?
Well, I think maybe the biggest takeaway is this. True power might not reside in any one person or institution,
Okay.
but in the collective will of people united by a common goal, a shared belief, or even just a really powerful idea.
That's a good one.
It's something to think about as you navigate the complexities of the world.
Food for thought.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on power.
Anytime. It was fun.
See you next time.
See ya.